Good evening, I'm Dave Morris. Welcome to The Play. We begin tonight with a follow on Tuesday night's execution debacle, including what attempts were made to revive Clayton Lockett, is an autopsy planned, and will the cocktail change? Both the governor and the White House sounded off today. Here's the latest. Governor Mary Fallin ordered an independent review of the state's execution protocols. This after the scheduled double execution of Clayton Lockett and Charles Warner went awry. Lockett apparently suffered a blown vein, then a heart attack before dying. An autopsy is pending. Warner's execution has been stayed for 14 days. Our Rick Green was at the Capitol today.
She said that the Department of Public Safety will look into whether current execution procedures are appropriate, whether any changes need to be made to those procedures, whether those procedures were followed. Additionally, they will look into the cause of death for Clayton Lockett, who ended up dying of an apparent heart attack last night after the lethal injection process began.
I believe the legal process worked. I believe the death penalty is an appropriate response and punishment to those who commit heinous crimes against their fellow men and women. However, I also believe the state needs to be certain of its protocols and its procedures for executions and that they work.
You can watch Governor Fallin's press conference in its entirety online at newsok.com. And following Governor Fallin, members of the ACLU addressed the media at the Capitol. You can watch highlights of that press conference at newsok as well. In Washington, White House Press Secretary Jay Carney was asked about the execution.
I haven't discussed this particular report with the president. What I can tell you is that he has long said that while the evidence suggests that the death penalty does little to deter crime, he believes there are some crimes that are so heinous that the death penalty is merited. In this case, or these cases, the crimes are indisputably horrific and heinous. But it's also the case that we have a fundamental standard in this country that even when the death penalty is justified, it must be carried out humanely. And I think everyone would recognize that this case fell short of that standard.
Our man in Washington, Chris Castile, will have more from that side of the story in tomorrow's editions. Our reporter Graham Brewer was in McAllister Tuesday evening and witnessed the events. I spoke with him earlier this evening. Were attempts made to revive Clayton Lockett?
At this point, we don't know. That's something that we're trying to look into. I've heard reports that an EMT was on the scene later in the night. When the curtain was closed, we really weren't sure. That was certainly one of the things that we had considered might happen, but we really don't know right now. They're not releasing any information until the autopsy is done and the investigation is complete.
So what about the cocktail that was used? Our health reporter Jacqueline Cosgrove spoke with those in the medical field today to learn more.
When you have a blown vein, or then you lose that control of where the drugs are going, and so you have these 3 drugs that are entered during execution. The first one, midazolam, is basically to make the person fall asleep. One expert I talked to talked about how that drug is given, this mixture drug is given in part for the person because with execution it can't be cruel and inhumane, and then also for the audience that's watching. Religious leaders weighed in today as well. The Most Reverend Paul S. Coakley, Archbishop of the Archdiocese of Oklahoma City, said the unprecedented execution underscores the brutality of the death penalty. I hope it leads us to consider whether we should adopt a moratorium on the death penalty or even abolish it altogether. Coakley said the way criminals are treated says much about society. More from the religion side of things from our reporter Carla Hinton. As you can see, plenty of coverage from the Oklahoman can be found in upcoming editions and online at newsok.com. Some other headlines for tomorrow include a Game 6 preview between Memphis and Oklahoma City. We were at Thunder practice today. Our reporters are headed to Beale Street.
This is a Bob Moore Ford Thunder practice report. I'm Barry Trammell here on my way to Memphis in a few minutes, and so is the Thunder after a grueling 100-99 overtime loss on Tuesday night. 4th straight overtime in this epic series with the Memphis Grizzlies. The Thunder finds themselves down 3-2, having to figure out how they can get over the hump, get 2 straight victories, and advance to the Western Conference semifinals.
And we're checking on the wheat harvest, a crop that could be the worst in decades. Coverage of all this and more in upcoming editions of the Oklahoman. For this edition of The Play, I'm Dave Morris. Have a great night, everyone.